the 2023 Audi Q4 E-Tron Sportback. Today, we're going to review this. I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the Sportback version of the Q4 E-Tron. If it's any good, how much it's going to cost you, because of course they charge you a bit more for the coupe version. And most importantly, we're going to take it for a test drive and find out how good is this thing on the road. Special thanks for this video goes to Audi Brampton, Audi dealership located in Brampton, Ontario, Canada. They were kind enough to give us this for a day and show you what it's all about, and most importantly, to test drive it. So, let's roll! German automakers have made a habit of making a coupe version of their SUVs. Like for example, the BMW X4 has a coupe version, and then there is the Mercedes GLC, which has an SUV version, and then there's a coupe version. And Audi, of course, has their own options for the Q5, and the Q4 e-tron didn't escape that. So they call this a Sportback, but technically it has the design of a coupe. And today, I'm going to show you everything you need to know, but let's start first with the exterior. And the good news is that you'll be able to see the Q4 SUV and the Q4 Sportback, which is this one here, so you'll be able to tell which one you like the most out of the two. Now, let's start first with exteriors, and let's go in the front. The model that we have for today's video, it is technically the Technic trim. But going forward for 2023, you can only add certain packages. There's not going to be any more of those packages or trims that they have before, like progressive and so on. You just keep adding tons of different features. Now, let's talk about the design. Let's start first with the front end. The good news is that the Q4 SUV version, well, it's pretty much in the front end as this one. But let me give you a quick tour. First, let's start with the headlights. Look at this beautiful matrix design. There's so much going on here. The actual indicator as well has that soft movement as well, and then the headlights, this is flat all the way around. Move on to the bottom. Again, Audi design. This is not functional, but it looks good, it looks aggressive because this is the S-line package. And then move on to the side over here. The grille itself doesn't have any functionality, it just looks great. Most EVs tend to not have much of that air going through because technically it's not an engine, so they don't need that, and it has to be aerodynamically friendly. And then we move on to the bottom here, we have the bumper, which again has more air going through. I believe this is probably used for the actual battery cooling. And then it says here E-Tron, so that people know that this is a full electric. And most important, if you live in Ontario, you get green plates, which means you can use the HOV lanes alone. Now, the actual logo in the front, the badge over here, it's very different. Usually you see that Audi logo with like a metal, and there's a bit of space in between. This is flat all the way through. So that's another way to tell the e-tron. And then again, the same design over this side. But what I love about this, the actual headlights. And then you have the logo that says here Audi on the side. But look how much is going on here, like the entire design. You got this metal in here, which gives different reflection. And most importantly, depends how you look at it. If you're looking at it straight, it has a different design. And if you look at it onto the side, completely different. I love that aggressive style. Then you're talking about the bumper and the hood itself. The hood, now the good news is that you can open it unlike the Germans, but it does not have an actual frunk in the front. So let me open it for you and show you what it's all about so that you know what you're getting yourself into if you get one. So you can open inside like a normal trunk, actually like a normal hood in the front like you'd find in normal cars, but if you look carefully, there's nothing here. This is just the standard equipment that EVs need, but there's no actual frunk. So, but you got access to, of course, your windshield liquid there. The reservoir is right in there, so in case if you need to top this up, so they gave you that chance. And there is all the other liquids, the brake fluid as well, everything that needs to be worked on, it's right in here. So like the BMW iX, you don't get a chance to actually open it. You as the owner, Audi is giving you that chance. Now let's move on to the side and let me show you some cool design, because that's where it changes in comparison to the SUV. If you have noticed with other e-tron models, they offer charging ports in the front, and in fact the bigger SUV offers two, but there's only one supercharger option. It has one on the left and one on the side port. This has one on the left but at the back, so that's where you can find the charging port. Now let's talk about the design. We got 20 inch wheels. These are staggered, meaning that the rear ones are wider. We got this RS logo on the side over there. And most importantly, this does only offer a single piston with this package, the Technic package. And then we have the S-Line badge that shows that this is an S-Line. Technically, they slapped this thing in every car out there. Then we're talking about the mirror, very familiar, but now for people that don't know, this is called a turning signal. And you see, this is the way that we drivers communicate on the road so we don't kill each other out there. So I know you're turning left and I know you're turning right. That's the way. So in case if you didn't know, please use those. Now let's move on to the side over here. This is the Sportback. This is where the Sportback style starts, the silhouette that goes like all the way down. And then we have this carved area here, a bit more expanded, the actual side fender. And as I said, we got staggered wheels. Well, tires, technically, they're wider at the back. And then move on to the tail light. Look at this, the E-Tron logo all the way through, the Audi logo as well. And then the actual tail light, it's sort of like, there's so much information going on here. We got the turning signal, which is 2 lights. We got one at the bottom, standard, flashing constantly, and there's this soft turn on tail light on this side. Now move on to the actual spoiler. Now, this is very different what you have seen in most Sportbacks because they tend to not have this kind of expanded spoiler. In this one, you have it, but this area over here, not useful, doesn't do anything. It's just a design. The actual windshield mirror is right here, the rear side. And then we have the brake light underneath. There's the Audi badge. We got the Q4 here, so people know it's a Q4. The fake vents over there, the diffuser, E-Tron logo, so people behind you, they know you're driving an E-Tron. Of course, the green plates in Ontario. And don't forget, Audi Brampton, don't forget to check them out. And we got the Quattro badge because this is a Quattro. Then I move on to the side, and this is where I was going to go next, which is the actual charging ports. Now, this is also for different levels. You got DC fast charging as well. There's a light over here. There's a sticker that tells you exactly what each light means so you don't get confused. That's pretty cool. The dimensions of the two Q4 models are almost identical, with an exterior length of 4.6 meters or 15.1 feet long and a height of 1.6 meters or 5.2 feet long. The Sportback is 1 centimeter longer and flatter in comparison to the standard SUV. The Q4 variants are identical in terms of their width of 1.9 meters or 6.2 feet long, well, technically as tall as I am, and their wheelbase of 2.77 meters or 9.1 feet wheelbase. Now let's move on to the space because this is technically a bit longer than the SUV version. So do you get more cargo space? You do. In fact, this offers up to 27.2 cubic feet of space. Meanwhile, the SUV, it's about 26.5 or so. So you do get more cargo space, which means it justifies that price increase, which we'll get into that, well, when we go for a drive. Now, Sportback vehicles or coupes tend to have a very bad second row space. And for me that I'm 6'2", it's actually very tight in some cars. Like I think the GLC was one of those. So let's see how am I in this one. Well, first of all, leg room, not bad. It's also the seat in the front as if I'm the driver. So that way we can have a better idea of how much space you're getting in here. So leg room is pretty good. Headroom, still okay. I got about 1 hand of space between the ceiling and my head, so it's actually not that bad. That hurt a bit, but that's okay. But other than that, it's nice and comfortable. We got, look at this, in the center, 2 cup holders. We got 2 USB-C ports at the bottom. We got this climate unit that you can change the temperature. It has these nets behind the seats. These are kind of like a one-piece style, but you can move the actual headrest. But it's nice and comfortable. Beautiful visibility all the way around. We got this beautiful panoramic roof all the way across. We got the lights at the top here for better brightness inside. If you're reading, you're going on a long trip. So it's nice and comfortable. And most importantly, you can fold these seats. So you have the seats here, the actual seat, and then we got the recliners. The recliners, I believe, these are folded like 1 piece, 2nd piece, 3rd piece. So if you needed space in the center only and you got 2 people in here, you can put something long right here, so it's perfect. Or you can just fold that or this one here. So it's actually very functional. So let's jump in the front. The first thing you notice here is that in comparison to the Audi E-Tron, the other models, okay, why are you beeping? I'm not moving. Okay, where was I? Okay, so what I was saying is that in comparison to other E-Trons, this is a bit different in terms of the design. Why do I mean that? Well, first of all, the steering wheel is completely different. Although this to me seems very familiar to, let's say, the Kia EV6 a little bit, maybe the new BMW iX. A different design, not like a round steering wheel, but it's nice and grippy. It's actually pretty cool. And of course, the badge is a little bit different. Now, in the standard, we got the standard touchscreen infotainment display with no option of controlling it through a different unit. Here it's all touchscreen and has like that ticking noise. And we got the climate unit buttons, so they haven't gotten rid completely of the buttons, so you don't get like a second screen like every other Audi. We got the e-tron badge, but overall the design is very futuristic, and we got this massive augmented reality heads-up display. I'll go into details, but the entire design here is very futuristic, very EV-like, because now every EV has their own sort of theme that is different to like the ICE cars. So let's start first with the driver's cockpit here with the heads-up display, the cluster, and the steering wheel, and let me show you exactly what you get with this package and what it offers. The steering wheel, of course, as I mentioned previously, is very different design. We got a flat top, flat bottom. We got the S logo underneath the airbag, and then we have the Audi logo, which is very different to like the standard models, but it's similar to the one in the front. On the left side, we got the standard buttons for the cluster. On the right side, this for the radio. Now, these technically look like touch, but the only ones that are touch are technically the left and the right side right in the middle for the volume and for scrolling. And then the rest of them are actually press button. And then, of course, you have a custom one. The steering wheel at the back has 2 paddle shifters, although they're not technically like a standard car. They're mostly for regeneration purposes. So you can change the level so the vehicle uses the regeneration to slow it down, and that way charges the battery at the same time. Nice and grippy. I love this perforated leather, grippy on the middle, perfect. Now let's talk about the cluster. First of all, lots of information here. Most importantly, is fully digital. You got the range on the left side, the battery percentage on the right side, the driver assistant. You can change a lot of settings, long-term, short-term memory. This is basically telling you the range. This is technically what the range is. So many settings you can play around. It tells you so many informations from the starting point and so on, and this is how much range you're gonna have moving forward. And you can change the view, you can change the actual reduced display as well, and you can reset the kilometers. It's just a bit finicky, there we go. Reduced view, so you don't get the full information, so that doesn't bother you. And then you can go back into it, and then trip computer. There's so much you can play with it. On top of that, I do believe when you change a different driving modes, you can also get a different type of layout. And there's Audi virtual cockpit as well. We put it into classic, change now, or you can do sport, or you can do what they call e-tron. So lots of information. Now, let's talk about the heads-up display, because this is pretty cool. Now, as you can see, the actual augmented reality is displayed on the heads-up display. So that arrow shows you, of course, the next turning lane and so on. So most of the time you'll see this somewhere, whether it's in the actual cluster or the infotainment display. In this case, Audi has included this in the actual heads-up display. And it's actually very, very useful. Let's just say if you don't want to look down into your cluster or the infotainment display, this will give you a better idea when you're driving where you need to turn. And it zooms out and zooms in, depends. If you're getting closer to the turning lane, it will do that. Right now I have a destination, so it's actually showing me where I need to turn next, but we're just going to ignore that for now. Now let's move on into the actual infotainment display. This is the latest MMI technology from Audi, so you might be very familiar if you have a latest Audi vehicle. It is touchscreen, and it kind of has a press. When you press down, you can feel that a little bit, and so many things you can play around. With this package, we don't seem to have a full 360 camera. I believe with the highest package, you may be able to get a full 360 camera, but you can play around, and it has like parking sensors around it. Other than that, it's pretty standard. It does have Apple CarPlay, I believe. You can connect your phone, display, and most importantly, this has Google Maps built in, so you can play around. Right now I have a Starbucks as my next drive, but of course you can do something else. But it's so intuitive. Every other navigation built-in system, it's pretty useless in my opinion. I mostly use my phone map built in, like for example the app from Google Maps, or please don't use the Apple Maps because it will just send you into a lake or something, God forbid. Use the Google Maps. I've tried the Apple Maps, pretty garbage. This on the other hand, look at this. It moves so quickly and it literally feels like you have a tablet in here instead of an actual infotainment display. So many other options you can play around. You connect your phone wirelessly, most importantly. It's an easy, great screen. I think this is about like 10-inch size or just a bit smaller than that. Not as big as the heads-up display, but pretty useful. Lots of settings you can play around. Different driving modes, dynamic, individual, auto, comfort. These are very familiar to what you've seen in other vehicles. Then we have a driver assistant package. And there's speed warning, all that you can turn off, can turn on, adaptive cruise assistant, distance warning, lane departure warning, and so on. And then we go into the settings over here, more settings you can play around. And then we get into the light and visibility. So many things included with this package that you can play around. In here we have the climate unit, the heated seats option as well, and these piano bar keys, as you can see, look at that. You can play around, they go up and down. Unlike like Mustangs, for example, where you only press one way, this one you can press both ways, up and down. We have heated seats with this package, and then when we're on to the bottom here, we have the drive unit. So you can put into drive, parking option, the start button. There is an actual start button, drive select, traction off over here, parking assist, the Audi Presense driver assist package as well, the volume, the seeker as well. This is kind of like a not touch screen, it's more like tap. So it's a soft option, like you can raise the volume, and it's pretty easy to use. The center one over here is where you need to get used a little bit because it's not like a standard shift knob, but easy. I mean, it took me like what, first try technically. This is my first time driving it, so it wasn't that hard. You've seen this before, like even the new Volkswagen, the Golf R had the same thing, the GTI, same kind of switch. There's not a shift knob anymore. Okay, here we go. See how quick this thing is. Power is ready, hooked nicely. 1, 2, 3. Not that bad, but 0 to 100 in 6.3 seconds. That's what Audi says. It uses a 250 kilowatts system, but this is a quattro, which means you get a motor in the front and a motor in the back, so you get two of them. You can also get a rear-wheel drive, but that means you get better range. This, I believe, you can get up to 400 and 450 kilometers for the quattro of range, and the rear-wheel drive goes up to 500 kilometers of range because it uses only one motor, which actually doesn't make any sense most of the time, but I guess the vehicle is heavier if you have two motors, one in the front and one in the back. Now let's talk about the price, because that's where it gets pretty interesting. See, in Canada, the Sportback starts at 68,000, 69,000 Canadian. In the US, you're looking about $57,000. The difference with the SUV in Canada is almost like $9,000 or $10,000. So it's cheaper to get the SUV, the starting price. In the US was about like $6,000 USD or so. And that's where things get pretty interesting, because why is it cheaper in the US? The difference between the two of them. Sometimes automakers do that where they just penalize Canadians for something, or sometimes they just give us more options than the US. So it kind of like balances out itself. In terms of the driving experience in this for someone my height, first of all, it's nice and comfortable. There's so much room around here, there's so much visibility, and it's a little bit quiet. It is based off an ID.4 technically. The battery, the chassis, pretty much it kind of comes out of an ID.4, so they start from that because Volkswagen owns Audi at this point, so they just take everything they put in the ID.4 and put into this one. The road noise is there, it's a bit noticeable, you can hear it, especially here with bumpy roads and cracks on the road. This is not the most well-paved area, but it's good because we get to try it. Now, I'm going to turn off driving mode into comfort and put on traction, because you just never know. Not that this is crazy fast. 6.3, it's pretty reasonable. Now, the biggest competitors for this vehicle is, of course, the Tesla Model Y, and I believe the Volvo XC40 Recharge, which is shocking that I remember that car I forgot that Volvo still makes cars. Another car that I could sort of compare to this would be the Kia EV6, although I know it's just a Kia for most people. That thing is pretty well priced and the range is not that bad. In terms of driving experience overall, this just feels nicer on the inside. The materials feels nicer, although this is not the fully loaded technically. This is just the Technic option. It's still not bad. It's not bad at all. I enjoy the drive. I wish it could be a little bit more like faster. Maybe there's going to be a Q4 e-tron version RS, which is faster, and usually they do. But you put your foot down even in comfort mode. It's actually better when you put your foot down without launching it. It just goes. It's nice. EVs are faster than ICE cars. Like, that's not rocket science. We know that. And I love that heads-up display. It shows me so much information. Like, when I'm trying to go into the closer to the middle lane, it shows a red line that says, hey man, get back onto your lane. The steering input is there. It's quick. Driver assistant package, everything is there. It's well priced, I have to say. Now, you're probably going to wonder, why would I buy this over the ID.4 if it's actually under the same chassis, same battery, and so on? Well, it's more premium on the inside, and the name itself says a lot of things about this car. So it all comes down to what you like and what you appreciate the most. It's not necessarily because one is cheaper. It's when you drive them, you notice a difference. I have not driven the ID.4 at this point, so I couldn't tell you how they compare. So if you want to, if you get a chance actually, you may be able to go out there and just, well, get an ID.4 and test drive it and compare it to this. So maybe you want to go to Audi Brampton and check this out and take it for a spin, because they do have a model that you can test out. I believe this is one of their test models, so you can take it for a spin. So that was it. I like this thing, but in comparison to the ID.4, I couldn't tell you anything. In comparison to the Tesla, I'll take this any day. The Tesla is absolute trash on the inside, in my opinion. Their quality, it's just laughable. This, on the other hand, is definitely a bit more premium. In terms of the Genesis, I don't like the design of the Genesis, so I'll just stick with the Audi. The driving experience, I would say, of course, the Genesis is faster, so yeah, it all depends what you like. But for me, this is pretty good, and I love the Sportback design. I'll take the Sportback design. It might hold the value better. I like this. I like it.